Today we're doing a bit of a Minecraft IQ test. There's only one question in the test, and it's a relatively simple one. What should happen here? Okay, when I retract this sticky piston, with the chain attached to the sticky piston, and the chain attached to the block, look, it is solidly in there. What should happen? This chain looks very strong. You know, it's clearly under tension. There's no slack in that chain. It is ready to pull the block. What should happen? The answer is not that. Simply not that. Alright? It doesn't quite add up, does it? It feels like this chain right here should be pulling that block. Well, thanks to Gnembon, the creator of the carpet mod, which introduces all sorts of great technical features to Minecraft, which can help you build farms and things, but also introduces various things like movable tile entities and other bits, like being able to increase the piston push limit and the fact that dispensers can plant saplings and things. There is now a game rule that allows us to have chainstone. Now, chainstone means that chains now work like chains. They can actually pull blocks along, but they don't stick to any blocks that are next to them, because obviously a chain doesn't stick to the blocks next to it. It only sticks to the block that's on the end of the chain. This is very interesting. Now, before the logic brigade turns up and says, well, you can't argue logic at the start of the video saying that the chain shouldn't snap, but then not mention the fact that the chain can push a block as well as pull the block. The pushing is already in Minecraft. That actually already exists. We've only added the ability to pull things, so in my eyes, this is fine. Chains have gone from being very, very illogical to just being mildly illogical. So let's see what we can do with this. Now, the first thing that came to mind is that we can finally build an actually cool looking portcullis. You see, whenever you've built castle gates or portcullises in Minecraft, they've always had to be pushed up from the bottom, which isn't really very portcullis-y. Now we can actually retract them from the top. And in theory, this should be all the redstone that we need. I mean, this is just a simple double piston extender setup. So if we just hook this into a button down at the bottom here, I mean, that should be it. That should be everything. And I can even send the redstone signal upwards, making use of a chain. I can put a redstone block on the edge of a chain. I don't have to worry about this sticking to anything off to one side. I can just have this right here, and that can run across into my redstone input. You can probably tell I'm already really starting to like this. Let's see how it's all come together then. Oh, that is incredibly cool. That makes me want to build a castle. I haven't wanted to build a castle in Minecraft in probably like 8 or 9 years. And yet, just constructing this tiny little portcullis right here has made me want to construct an entire castle around it. That's how cool I think this is. And actually, kind of sticking on the castle theme, I think I've come up with an idea for something that could be really, really interesting. In fact, I've just realised that because of the chains, a lot of the stuff is almost like medieval feeling. But then again, did they have chains in the Oh my goodness. I'm embarrassing myself. Yeah, chains have been around for around about 2,200 years. Okay, see, as I was saying, because of the look of the chains, it all feels quite medieval. Alright, and that's going to be a running theme. My idea is that we have a bit of glowstone or some form of light source on the end of a chain that we can then retract up into the ceiling when we want the lights to turn off. Now that I think about it, might be a bit of a long chain, but still, you get the idea. Just out of pure curiosity here, because I would be embarrassed if I did this entire video without working out if this actually functions. Does this... No. Okay, that's good. That's logical. Oh, but this does... Oh, no, that could come in handy. Except, of course, because chain blocks don't stick to the blocks next to them, a system like this, which would normally work with slime blocks and honey blocks, doesn't actually work with chain blocks. With that being said, if we actually just replace this with honey and then get some movable objects in and completely rewire everything, we end up with a system that looks really, really cool. So there is that, and then here is the retraction into the top. Now you can see we've got a double piston extender up the top here as well, and that allows us to get this piston kind of flush with the roof-ish, but then on the retraction it all gets pulled up, and then this glowstone is actually above these objects here, which means we then have room to make some form of block swapper. Now, to keep things as compact as possible, I'm making use of slime blocks here to kind of slide the blocks past. And that's going to involve the use of a pulse extender, because we need to make sure that the glowstone gets moved into place at the start of the circuit, but then gets moved out the way at the very end of the circuitry. And I think that should be relatively easy-ish to do. Ish being the operative part of that sentence. It just involved connecting a line of repeaters to the slowest part of the redstone circuit and running it back into this piece of redstone dust. So that essentially creates a pulse extender, and everything should now be working. Okay, so currently we have no lights. Okay, we've got a piece of stone brick there. But then when I flick this lever, our light drops down and is hanging from the chain. And then when we flick the lever again, everything gets pulled up and we have no lights. So everything is fully functional and looking, if I do say so myself, incredibly, incredibly cool. I mean, this is a very satisfying redstone contraption to watch. It all happens a little bit too fast. I can't actually look at it quick enough. Thankfully, chains come to the rescue once again, and now we can see everything that is happening. I could watch that all day long. I want these in my base, and I want these in my actual house as well. That was a strange laugh. Moving swiftly on to what I'm going to refer to as the reverse vault door, because it's kind of like the opposite of a vault door. You see, if you've seen a vault door before, these blocks right here are normally inset inside the blocks, whereas in this one, they're kind of poking out a little bit, but they're connected with chains. I just think this looks so cool, and I think when it opens up, it's going to look even cooler. Now, from a redstone perspective, it's relatively straightforward. So we've got double piston extenders on either side, which are going to pull these chains and blocks out the way. And then the rest of it is just single piston extenders that are going to be running into these blocks around here. So we should be able to make this pretty compact and relatively fast. Except there is one very big problem with this design, and it is not the working of the redstone, because the working of the redstone, easy peasy. It's the piston faces. The piston faces are completely ruining the vibe of this thing. It takes a cool looking door and just stamps on it and makes it incredibly ugly. So we are going to have to come up with something that allows us to then get rid of these piston faces and replace them with blocks. Seems simple. It's not. It's really not. I've been thinking for the past 10 minutes of how I could do it, and I can't. I mean, the only potential solution that I can come up with is a double piston extender underneath here that then pushes this block upwards 2 blocks, clears out the space, and then there'd be blocks up here, and then more pistons up at the top here. It makes it quite big. That's quite a big redstone contraption. Part 1 is done, which is our little double piston extenders. This makes space for these blocks to be pushed in. And now I'm trying to wrap my head around the piston pushers, and that is not going so well. I mean, it does work. The piston pushers do work, and block pushers work and things. But then the double piston extender has stopped working, and I'm getting stressed. I think it's time for me to start again. And I'm still stressed. I don't know what's going on. But after 3 hours and 1 long walk, I think I'm starting to make progress here. Now, it may not look like much, but this is big news, alright? Flick the lever, everything moves out the way, and then everything gets retracted away into the wall. And it all happens incredibly quickly. But that is about as fast as you can get. And now, after a bunch more time, the whole thing is all completed. Was it worth it? Was it worth it is the question. I'll leave you to be the judge of that. I mean, I personally think now that it's finished, it's actually quite a cool piston door, isn't it? It's, especially with the netherite outside. I know this is unreasonably expensive, but God, it looks cool. This, if you saw this door on a server, alright, you would just know that there are valuables behind it. And one added benefit of this piston door I hadn't even thought of is the fact that it is actually double-sided, in that the back side is just a regular vault door. So you've got a regular vault door on the back, and then you have this system on the front. And it all looks super cool. With that being said, it's not the most compact thing in the world, so I'm sure some of you wizards out there might be able to do a little bit of a number on this one. It's a little bit wide. You know, I'd love it if it was 3 or even 2 blocks wide. I mean, 2 blocks wide would be crazy. Anyway, let's move on from the piston doors, because I have thought of a rather odd use for these things that actually should end up looking really cool. And I'm going to make use of the fact that the logic of the chains doesn't really add up in Minecraft, and make it so that we can create a pop-up staircase that we can also retract down into the ground. Don't you just hate it when you start building redstone contraptions way too low? Like, there's nowhere near enough space for me to do the redstone here. This is going to be one of those redstone contraptions, isn't it? Where it starts off really easy. You know, that's a solid start. But then it begins to get more and more complicated. So then we need to send a triple piston extender up, and that will put the next set of stairs up here. And then at the back, we've got this quad piston extender, which hopefully I can do making use of these sticky blocks. If we can use the sticky blocks, that makes life a lot easier. Oh, and in case you hadn't noticed, yeah, I'm using netherite just because I can. Because this is the only time that I'm ever going to be able to use netherite without having to go mining for many thousands of hours. I would say I have about 50% of the triple piston extender done. So we've got the full extension, and then also a little bit of the retraction. And then all I have to do to get it to fully retract is this, and then that. So I need to fire this piece of redstone dust twice, which seems really easy, but for some reason I'm struggling. I think my brain is still a little bit frazzled from that thing. That thing behind me. I've played a lot of Minecraft today, what can I say? But thanks to a really interesting little circuit designed by Mango, which gives a 5-tick pulse, which is the shortest pulse you can use for a double piston extender. This whole system is now functional, so you can see all of the stairs drop down. And then this is all of the stairs popping up. So now we just have these final ones to do, which once again, I'm hoping should be easy because slime blocks and honey blocks. I have my fingers so crossed that they're basically parallel with one another, facing in opposite directions. They're very broken. I have not checked how many blocks I'm trying to push here. And it's too many! Alright. I have a block that I can remove from the system. Here we go. It's not my lucky day! Oh! Except I think it is, because I've been silly and I haven't used immovable objects, so there is still hope for us yet. Please do excuse that error. I know, as I say, I've been playing way too much Minecraft today. Here it goes. Yes! There's only one word for that, and that is chuffed. I am absolutely chuffed. It hasn't brought it down. Why has it not brought it down? I got the timings totally the wrong way around. Too much Minecraft today. Now I know I'm doing all this fancy stuff with chainstone and I'm making interesting looking redstone contraptions with this new game mechanic, but where it really shines is actually in its usefulness inside of redstone contraptions. For example, right here, if I did this with slime blocks or honey blocks, wouldn't be possible because that target would be dragged along, it would break the system, wouldn't be able to do it. Whereas here, chain block allows it to happen. I can push and pull this observer, which allows me to connect up two different parts of the redstone circuit, and I can only do that because the chain block exists. That is what makes a good addition to the game. When it goes from just being a cool gimmicky thing to something that is actually genuinely useful, and you have a use for it on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to level with you. This is one of those redstone contraptions that even I don't fully understand as I'm rebuilding it. You know, I don't really know how I managed to get this to function. It just seems to work. But it does now work. That's the most important thing. And it's one of those redstone contraptions that looks very, very cool. It's a bit of a circuit board. In fact, all of the redstone contraptions so far in this video have been of the slightly interesting type. And if we hit this button here, look at that. So we've got ourselves a staircase that pops up, all connected up using chains and things. And then when we hit the button again, everything drops down into the floor. This is very, very cool. This is very, very cool. Very, very cool. So there we go. That is my very brief deep dive into chainstone in the carpet mod that Gnembon has created. I'll put a link to the carpet mod down in the description, as well as Gnembon's video on chainstone and also Gnembon's video on the carpet mod, because it explains all of the different functions of it. It's a fantastic, massive game changer. And I think I want to round up this video by saying I genuinely want this in the game. I see no reason why this shouldn't be in the game. It makes sense. It's so Minecrafty. It feels so Minecrafty. Mojang, if you're watching this for whatever reason, go on. Minecraft 1.17. We've got the sculk sensor. Now we can have chainstone as well. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya. This has definitely been a fun one to record. It's been fun diving into some slightly tricky redstone contraptions for the first time in a little while. You know, really challenging my brain, getting it working, and yeah, just trying my best to solve problems. A lot of problems. All the problems. Every problem. There's been so many problems.